Now, I have to say, I saw some eye rolling talking about all the things Voc Rehab does. Camille, you want to share?
No, I'm good.
So, when I get eye rolls about Voc Rehab, I have to answer it the same way. Is that yes, a lot of Voc Rehab doesn't do that. A lot of state Voc Rehab doesn't do the outreach they're supposed to do. A lot of state Voc Rehab will say, I'm not going to provide that. And that's correct. I had to go through 6 days of trial to get something that they told my client he needed. I have had to go through trial to keep a client out of a sheltered workshop because VR said it was all he'd be able to do. I have had to go through trial because VR chose to close someone's case just because they didn't like it. Because the things that they said were keeping him from working, his interpersonal skills, were the things that made them not like him. Yeah, it's a fight, often. It's a fight you can win. Because the law is so on your side. Look at the services and supports that are available under VR. Look at the obligation for VR. And the last thing I'll say, and I'll get to you in one sec, is this. If any of you have done special education work, you know that the Rowley case is often viewed as saying that a school is not required to provide the best possible education. Schools will say, we don't have to give you a Cadillac. You hear that all the time. And I always answer that with, I don't want a Cadillac, I want a car that starts. VR is different because VR is obligated to maximize your potential. VR is obligated to help you maximize your ability and advance in employment. So even if you don't have the skills for your job now, if you could develop them, they have to provide them until you reach that goal. Example, an incredibly talented attorney I hired and worked with in Virginia, deaf. Worked with her state VR organization. Said, I want to be a lawyer. And he said, well, that's a lot of time and trouble. How about we support me be a paralegal? Julie fought it. Because I have the ability to practice law. And showed that she had the aptitude and the skill. They wound up helping her get through law school. She is now a manager at a P&A in a state. Because she said, you will maximize. The law is very clear on this. It's why I say, not just any job, your job, not just any supports and services, the ones that will help you maximize. And never forget that includes independent living skills. Ma'am?
Yeah, my son is 17, and I interviewed yesterday, actually. And VR, there was somebody at the school from VR, and I've not been able to, he has his own counselor. She left, there's a new one. Basically, they were telling me he wasn't in employment training through their program in the schools because his goal was to go to college. So I said, I want both. And so they said, okay, we're going to have to rewrite the goal and say it's employment training. And so now he's sort of belatedly getting this transitional service.
VR can help you with college if your employment goal is one that requires college. Now, there's all kinds of this. There's some hoops. Don't get me wrong. There's things called comparable benefits that examines how much they can support. But they can provide support books. We saw it. Assistive technology. If your employment goal accepted by VR is one that requires further education, they should be supporting it. To say that because you want to go to college, we're not going to be involved is to violate the VR statutes. Just like when I used to hear, and I'm sure some states still hear, hey, come back to me this semester before you graduate high school and we'll start working. That's not getting involved as soon as possible. That's telling a student, we're going to prepare for you for the next 50 years of your life in the next 6 months. I think it should start when transition starts. I have had VR at IEPs as early as 14 because that's part of their job. So when they say we're not, of course I have a long-term goal of employment. And I'm sure your son does too. And don't let them tell you, by the way, that he can't possibly know what he wants to do. He's just going to college. You can change your employment goal. DC had this rule that said you can only change it twice. I said, wait a second. I wanted to play left field for the Yankees and play rhythm guitar for the Stones. I wound up being a lawyer. Would you not have helped me? You can change your goal, especially when you're younger. So I applaud you for making them change that. And that's exactly the right thing to do. And stay on top of that. And remember, you have the right to assessments. There may be services and supports he needs when he's in college that will help him get there, and VR can provide that. Other questions? Great. Camille, sorry for putting you on the spot. Let's talk next. this is kind of a catch-all. I call this healthcare and life planning. Okay, because like I said, supported decision-making can go pre-K to end-of-life planning. And the article of faith here is the Americans with Disabilities Act, which said for the first time in 1990, 214 years after the Declaration of Independence, that people with disabilities have the right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness as everyone else. When it said that disability does not diminish a person's right to fully participate in society. They have every right in the world to do the same things everyone else does. That is our article of faith for life planning. And yet, when we look at healthcare, the studies have shown across the board, people with disabilities have more medical conditions but are worse treated than anyone else. That's the Surgeon General found that. Why? Why? Maybe it's because the recent survey, 2015, found that up to 10% of people who were referred to guardianship were referred by a medical provider. The doctor saying, you got to become a guardian. And we know that less self-determination equals less help. So think about it. What do we hear from doctors? Why do doctors refer people to guardianship? Well, who's going to pay? Who's responsible? Who's going to sign the consent form? How do I know this person is competent to accept treatment? How do I know this person can make decisions to receive appropriate treatment? We hear it time and time and time again. And that leads to situations like this. In D.C., 70% of the people served by the Department of Disability Services have a substitute decision maker. My God, 70% have no ability to make decisions on their own. How can that possibly be? And a national survey, the Center for Quality and Leadership, CQL, found that fewer than half of people felt they had any input into what their life was like, where they live, what they did. Not just rights to decide, but any input whatsoever. That's what we have out there. So the key concept I have when we talk about healthcare and life planning, informed consent. We hear it all the time. We sign papers to give informed consent, right? We get the information we need to give informed consent. It's not just signing a paper. It's the doctor telling you what this procedure is going to be, what we're going to do, what the risks are. Then we sign. You have been given the information you need to consent. And the key parts of informed consent are knowing the risks, getting the information we need to understand them, and choosing to undergo the procedure after having been informed of all of those things. What does that sound like? Sounds like supported decision-making, doesn't it? Because as with every choice we make, assistance can be provided to help the person understand the choice. That is, as I said, the whole point of informed choice, the informed part. Some people might need support in how they are informed. They might need assistance to understand, hey, can you please explain that to me in English? I need that support, right? We all need support when we hear jargon. So ability to make decisions is not binary. We don't look at every decision and say, because you can or can't make this one, you can't make any of them. Isn't that silly? Why do we look at healthcare that way, right? I may not, theoretically, be able to understand all the risks of a complicated cardiothoracic surgery. But I can certainly consent to whether or not I want a flu shot to keep from getting sick. It's a continuum. You can have the capacity to consent to take medication without having the capacity to engage in a complicated credit default swap. Can you not? I don't have the capacity to do a credit default swap. So we have to look at that. That's our key concept for healthcare. Informed consent. That word, has lost its meaning, but informed just means getting information that you understand. So what we need for healthcare is a system that ensures that people can be informed. It's flexible. It allows for a person to receive the help he or she needs. It is useful. It actually increases the role of families and doctors, and frankly, provides protection for the doctors to make sure that informed consent happened. Doesn't that sound like supported decision-making? This is a blog from the Administration on Community Living. They are part of the Department of Health and Human Services. And they came out and they said, supported decision-making is a process of working with people to identify where help is needed and devising an approach to provide that help. What's informed consent other than that? So we can use supported decision-making in many ways. The solutions are all different. Some people might need one-to-one support. Some people might need more formal layers of support. The key is they receive the information they need to provide the best decision. Think about a release, for example. Okay, every time you go to the doctor, you have to sign a HIPAA release. They make you sign that form, initial the front, sign the back, say who it's okay to give information to. You all done that? Okay. It says you can give information to my wife, my doctor, my friend. I'm okay with you doing that, doctor. Doctors have to do that, otherwise they're violating confidentiality. Doctors are all afraid about confidentiality, right? But you can give them permission to do that. When you are signing a HIPAA release, you are giving the doctor permission to share your confidential information so the doctor can treat you properly, correct? Well, how about this? What is supported decision-making other than sharing information? How does one get support? Someone who knows me, someone who is familiar with me, someone who knows how I make decisions helps me make them. You know how that person does it? With information. So your standard HIPAA release, which says I give you permission to share information with you. I can simply write in a few extra words that say, I give you permission to share information with you to help me make healthcare decisions. Period. I've just given the doctor power to share information. I've just created a supported decision-making agreement. Go.
You've been mostly talking about the plenary guardianship.
Yep.
And I assume that you don't mean for what you've said to apply to limited guardianships, which I think includes some of what you just talked about.
Some. I'm actually currently talking about people who are not under guardianship, who have ways that they can have alternative guardianship.
Right.
There are
I think
some.
that includes the
Yep.
sort of
Yes, some limited guardianships include medical care that include sharing information. So do, as you'll see in a couple of seconds, power of attorney language. I've written it. So yes, you can write ways to make that happen. Okay, I'm getting the. Are we going to be cutting out in time?
No, we've got some time, but it's 3 o'clock. But we have a few more minutes.
10 minutes. Promise
Okay.
you. Almost
10
done.
more minutes. Got it.
Okay. Doesn't that sound like a HIPAA release? By the way, if I'm boring, just leave. Consider this bonus time. Doesn't that sound like a HIPAA release? You can just say in a HIPAA release, sharing information for the purposes of decision making, and there are forms for that. It's as easy as adding language to a HIPAA form, or there's other ones out there. You can make your own form. You can access one from the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network. Just Google ASAN Healthcare Making Tool, or ask me to email this to you. You'll find their model legislation, which we worked on, and that includes supported decision-making agreements that you can give to the doctor and say, I'm giving you permission to share information with me for decision-making purposes. That should be all a doctor needs to share info. You can be more formal. This is what I was just talking about. You can put it in a power of attorney. I've done several of these. Powers of attorney are voluntary. I'm giving you power. I'm giving you authority to make decisions. What if I'm saying, I'm not just giving you authority to make all decisions. I'm giving you permission to help me with my decisions. If we had language that says, I'm giving my agent the power to make certain decisions on my behalf, but my agent agrees to give primary consideration to my express wishes in the way they make decisions. All of a sudden, we've created a team, haven't we? And if we have more specific language for medical agreements, think about your typical advance directive. We're all encouraged to get one. Advance directive says if I'm unable to make decisions, if I'm incapacitated, if God forbid I get hit in the head, I'm in an accident, I want you to make decisions for me. Well, for a person with disabilities, and I've written this and it's been accepted, couldn't we say in that situation, if I become incapacitated, I want you to make decisions for me, but until that time, until some doctor says I can't make decisions, I want you to make decisions with me. My agent will work with me to make decisions and give me the support I need and want to make my own decisions. They will give me support and make sure I'm able to make healthcare decisions to the maximum of my ability with me being the final decision maker. You have just created a supported decision-making relationship that protects you should you be found incapacitated, should that happen, but also protects you by ensuring that until that happens, you are in fact the decision maker and can get help doing it. This can take the place of a guardianship if we are worried about a person having difficulty making decisions. All of a sudden, we've created a voluntary document that does that. So if you hear a doctor say, but that violates confidentiality, how can that happen? No, it doesn't. It's the same as a HIPAA release. I'm giving you permission to, quote unquote, violate my confidentiality. Remember, person-centered planning, we discussed this before, you're already required to do it. What does this look like? Involve the person in the decision-making methods. Involve the decision. The person drives it. The person is bringing other people in. That's supported decision-making. I copied this directly from an HHS slide. Person-centered planning focuses on what's important to the person, what's for the person, what the person wants and where the person wants to go. Doesn't that sound like supported decision-making? And doesn't the advanced directive we just talked about that incorporates supported decision-making sound like that, like person-centered planning? It doesn't just stop there. We can plan throughout the life course. It's not just for emergencies. It's not just for what happens if I'm suddenly in an accident. We can involve financial authority. I used this language with an 18-year-old who told me, I don't think I'm ready to make all my decisions for myself. Kid was smarter than me. I didn't think that at 18. But he and his mom worked with me to come up with this language where mom and kid said, I'm comfortable with you spending $100. I don't need to look over your shoulder for $100. Anything more than that, I have to co-sign. So we had this language that says, I understand if I want to buy or sell a car for 20 grand, I need my agent's permission. But when my agent is making that decision, they're going to give primary consideration to my express wishes. We've just created a supported decision-making relationship and a supported decision-making team. And we can do that with banking. We've all had joint bank accounts. We can create one that requires co-signing checks over a certain amount. And once again, I agree, I will not withdraw more than $100 from any account or write a check for more than $100 without my agent agreeing. But in making that decision, my agent will give my express wishes primary consideration. We've created a team. Then we get to end-of-life planning. Who here has done any work around end-of-life planning, like 5 wishes or the conversation? It's an incredibly uncomfortable thing that really needs to be done. It's really not uncomfortable for the person. It gives them control over something that they couldn't previously control. I've had to rail at caseworkers. You have got to have end-of-life conversations, even if it makes you feel icky. It gives the person control over the services and supports they get at end of life, including whether they want, what kind of palliative care they want, and even what kind of memorial service they want, thereby increasing self-determination. And this is what I consider to be the most important part of any self-determination supported decision-making plan, a growth clause. We put this in for the 18-year-old, saying, whatever else we said here, whatever power I've given up, we're going to review it every couple of years. We're going to review and see if I have grown to the point where I no longer need it, or whether I can loosen it up a little bit to $200 I can spend, so that you can grow as you engage in more self-determination. Rather than putting a person in a guardianship, which as we've discussed is damn near impossible to get out, we create a supported decision-making relationship that allows for a person to grow and gain skills, thereby increasing self-determination and encouraging growth. So remember, if we take nothing else out of this presentation, supported decision-making says everyone here has the right to make choices. We're all born with that. We're all born with basic, unalienable rights, as Thomas Jefferson said. Supported decision-making is a way to make them a reality. They acknowledge that everybody has the right to make choices, but also that people can get help in exercising that right without giving that right up, the same way that we do. We all get help in exercising our right to make choices without saying, I want to give up that right, and we all have ways of getting that help that doesn't give up that right. And once we have that down, once we get in that headspace, all we've got to do is ask, what does this person need to make this right to make choices a reality? What services and supports are needed? What levels of help does this person need to be more independent, to be more self-determined, to be his or her own person? And once that happens, that article of faith is the genuine article. People with disabilities at that point actually have the same rights as everyone else. They actually can and do fully participate in all aspects of society. And before I say thank you, I said at the beginning, we need your questions, your comments, your concerns, and here's a place you can do it. That's my email, jmartinez@dcqualitytrust.org. I'm one of those weird people who checks email first thing in the morning, last thing at night. Feel free to email me your questions or concerns. And please look at our website, supporteddecisionmaking.org. You'll find, well, if you're not too tired of seeing me, there's other trainings I've given, videos. There are webinars we've given. We have a resource and research library where you can find articles on supported decision making. And there's the opportunity to join a listserv to talk about and ask questions of people all across the country about supported decision making and guardianship. It has been my high honor to be here. I'm sorry for running late, but thank you so much.
Thank you.